Growing up, the stories that I read about Indian women usually fell into two categories. The first, sacrifice presented as virtue, the good daughter, the devoted wife, the mother who sacrificed everything. Women who gave everything up and were celebrated for it. As an Indian woman, you absorbed really early on that this is how you are supposed to also behave and this is how you will be valued in a society like this. Then there was the second category, rebellion presented as a scandal. The women who wants too much, speaks too loudly, or always wants something that is good for her. These women were supposed to act as a warning. Their stories were not supposed to end in a good way. They were never meant to have a happy ending. What I really found growing up in these books was a space that held the two end of this pole. An Indian woman who was just human, contradictory, trying to figure it out, not a symbol of anything. The 6 books that I'm going to recommend today live in that space. Written by Indian authors about lives that feel recognizable. The families, the pressure, the quiet negotiation. They don't ask their women to be saints or cautionary tales. They try to show the human side of them and let them be just people for a little bit. That is why I have this list today. Some of these are comfortable reads, but some are not. But all 6 of them are an honest account. The kind of honesty that if you find in a book, it is a relief of its own kind. So let's get into it. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Pooja at A Book by the Window. I hope you guys are doing good. I hope you guys are reading good. First off, I am loving my hair look. I do this really quick 2-minute updo that I learned on the internet, and I did it on my day 3 hair because I had to go to work and I did not wash my hair. Tomorrow is wash day, but I really love how these curtain bangs that have grown a lot just covering my face at the right place on my face, but I also like this little pony. So if you want a tutorial of that, it's gonna be on my main channel. I also have a main channel. If you don't know it, I do some lifestyle stuff there, other things about me, and mostly about motivation, growth, and where have my life led me to. If you want to know about me personally, you're going to find a lot of things there. But this channel is for books, and today we're going to talk about a lot of books. You best believe me. Book number 1 in this list is The Palace of Illusion by Chitra Banerjee. We all have known Draupadi our whole life. You have heard her name in stories, in prayers, maybe in your grandmother's kitchen, but I bet you've always heard of Draupadi in terms of the men surrounding her, her 5 husbands, Panchali as she is fondly known in Indian history and mythology. In Mahabharata, she mostly exists as a catalyst to events, rarely as an individual or a person with her own identity, thoughts, and opinions. Devakarni changes that for us. This novel retells the entire Mahabharata, her ambition, her grief, her longing for a life that was entirely hers. The quiet fury of being such an important character in a very important story, but having no control over it, having no control of how it was told as well. What makes this novel work is that in this book, Draupadi is not modernized. She isn't a 21st century woman in ancient clothing. She remains a woman of her time, and this is why the tragedy of affairs that unfolds makes it more impactful and heart-wrenching, because the constraint feels more historical and realistic. You find them familiar, and you also recognize them from the fables and age-old stories that you have grown up knowing about Mahabharata. The prose is lyrical and seamless. It almost feels like an unending canvas, and the words flow very quickly. There are moments in the book where Draupadi has to stand on the sidelines and see her fate being decided by these men. It almost fills you with rage and fury, but you are left wondering what comes of women, even the most important women in a saga that has been the cornerstone of Indian value system and Indian religious. What comes of the women? You are really, really shattered and disappointed in a way that is still relevant today. Being the woman that you are in Indian society, I'm sure you have felt like the center character of a story that is told around you, but you have no control over it. If you have also felt like that, I'm pretty sure you have. This book is for you. Book number 2 is The God of Small Things by Arundhati Roy. 1997 Booker Prize winner. I'm pretty sure you've heard of this book. Maybe you have also read it. This book is set in Kerala, and it follows 2 twins, Rahel and Esther, and a single event in their childhood that changes everything. It is a novel around caste, class, and what happens when people love each other across these lines that the society has drawn and it refuses to move these lines. But the main character that I want to talk about is Ammu, the twins' mother. Ammu is a divorced mother in 1960s Kerala, which means by the logic of the world she is in, she has no standing, no claim on her parents' house, no financial future, no life around her that people can recognize as being legitimate. And yet, she makes a choice. A costly, clear-eyed, entirely human choice. Roy doesn't frame it as heroism or a tragedy. She just shows it to you and lets you sit with it. The prose is unlike anything else I have read in English language. Of course, Arundhati Roy's writing is one of the best in the world. Her writing is a masterpiece in itself. All the books that I have read by her are a piece of art. In this book, Roy fragments sentences, plays with capitalization, invents words of her own in a way that feels like these words should not exist together, they should not work, but they absolutely do. There are certain lines in the book that you will carry with you for years. I have to agree that the structure is non-linear. It can disorient you when you first read it. I would advise push through it. It earns every bit of the confusion. Third book in the list is Ghajar Kochar by Vivek Shabang. This is a translated book, translated in English by Srinath Perur. This is a book that comes under 130 pages and it does more than most book double its size does. A middle class family in Bangalore goes from struggling to suddenly becoming wealthy, and the novel watches what that money does to them. The power shifts, the silence that hardens into cruelty, and there is a quiet, sustained pressure that is put on the narrator's wife Anita, who refuses to disappear in the family the way she's expected to after money came into the family. Nobody is doing anything very overly dramatic. There are no big confrontation, just a collective family unit closing ranks on her, a woman who is outspoken and she doesn't want to erase herself on a cue. These books capture something really specific to certain kind of Indian households. The way family hierarchy, the power dynamics and money control combine into something really suffocating for all members, let alone the women of the family. The way a woman who married into a family is expected to completely become a part of it by forgetting her own identity, that she loses her own perspective and stop being relevant, is really shown as a mirror of the society in this book. Anita doesn't want to accept her fate of just being reduced women of the family and not a person. And unfortunately, the family makes her pay in ways that are not stated outright, but they're so impossible to miss. This is also a thriller. This is also a book that is very fast-paced and engaging, so you better not miss it. This is one of my favorite books from the list. Book number 4 in the list is The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri. Jhumpa Lahiri is one of my favorite authors, and you best believe I'm gonna add a book from her in this list. A Bengali family immigrates from Bengal to America. The parents carry India with them, the ritual, the recipe, the weight of everything that they have left behind. Their children grow up in two worlds belonging fully to neither. The novel technically follows Gugol, the son, but the character that stayed with me most is Ashima, the mother, a woman who spends the entirety of this novel, of her lifetime, trying to belong and make a life in a place that she doesn't understand, building a life slowly, whatever she could salvage from the distance of who she was and where she ended up being. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This is a diaspora novel. A lot of people haven't immigrated anywhere. But I personally have. When I first read this book, I did not understand the gravity of the text. And many years later, I have reread it. I've also watched the very beautiful movie that stars Irfan Khan and Tabu. And all these years ago, I have immigrated to America. I moved outside India 5 years ago. And I understand the weight of being trying to build a life in a place that is not yours, and it's a new life, and there are different challenges that you encounter. And I keep going back to the same text. I keep going back to Ashima's story. I keep seeing my life through her lens in terms of how lonely things can be, or how, even though I married the love of my life and I have a really wonderful relationship with my husband, but you're left to wonder how women at that time, they did not have a choice but to follow their husbands wherever they are going and to make a life out of a little tiny apartment in a very cold country, in a very cold place, and trying to make do with whatever they have. I specifically remember the scene when Ashima is craving some poha and she couldn't find puffed rice anywhere, so she just made do with whatever she has. and she finds some puffed rice, like maybe Pop Tart or puffed rice somewhere, and she tries to make poha from these bits and pieces just to fulfill her craving. That is the kind of longing, especially around that time. Now you see there is like a plethora of people who you can find from your same culture. It is very cosmopolitan, but back then it was not, and you are only trying to figure out ways in a very new country, trying to speak English, trying to learn to drive, trying to do laundry, and it is all really lonely and a really disorienting process, but one that in the end Ashima finds her own way and she finds her own identity, which is happy ending for all of us. Book number 5 in the list is Burnt Sugar by Avni Doshi, and I will be upfront, this is a very hard read. It is about a adult woman, Antara, who is caring for her very old dementia-riddled mother. A mother who was charismatic, unapologetic, and mostly an absent mother when she was growing up, when she really needed her. The novel lives in the gap between duty and resentment, between love and the damage that love leaves behind when it becomes careless. Antara is not a very likable narrator. She is angry all the time, sometimes cruel, and occasionally unreliable. And I feel that is precisely why the book is necessary. The book tries to refuse the idea that an ideal daughter owes something to a mother who failed her. We are so conditioned to accept that women characters are very warm and they take care of everyone and they are forgivable, that when one isn't, it almost feels like a flaw. I don't think so it is. There are a lot of gray areas in a situation like this, and this book leaves you thinking long after you have read it, what are the right answers, and sometimes there are no right answers. Book number 6 and the last book in the list is When I Hit You by Meera Kandaswamy. This book is based on Meera's own experience of living her life through an abusive marriage. It is a very triggering book. I'm going to give you the trigger warning because when I read it, I was also triggered a lot. The narrator is a young writer who marries a man who systematically dismantles her. Her friendship, her work, her sense of self, under the language of ideology and love. What sets this book apart from other accounts of domestic violence and abusive marriage is the character's, the narrator's interiority. She is not passive. She is actively thinking. She's resisting. She's internally making sense of what is happening around her like a third person when she doesn't have any control on her situation and she cannot do anything externally, using her language itself as a form of survival. The writing is very fierce, it is precise, and it also gives you funny moments, kind of like dark humor when you least expect it. It's going to catch you off guard. The world's response to women who come with stories like this is almost always, so why didn't you just leave? This is going to be the book that answers that for you, fully in its entirety and without any apology. So these are the 6 books on the list that I had today. 6 very different kind of honesty. What connects them when I put them in a list is that none of them ask for anyone's approval. They don't ask for your approval. They don't ask for society's approval. They are not trying to make Indian womanhood look palatable or inspiring or easy. They're just telling the truth of the lives that we have all lived, of what it actually contains. And I personally think it is well worth your time. If you've read any of the book from the list, do let me know in the comment section below. Or if there's any book that is already on your TBR list and you have been thinking of reading it, you found it in the list and now this is your sign to finally read it, I would like to hear more from you. And if you did like a book and you picked it up from the list, come back to this video and let me know what you liked about it. We're gonna have a fun gala time discussing these books as we always do. I'm all up for discussion. This is why this channel exists. If you've enjoyed this video, do like it, share it with your friends and family. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. I love talking about books. I have a lot of bookish content on this channel and I intend to keep talking about books for as long as I can. So if you want to support the channel or if you just like watching me yap about the books and come up with more lists like this or talk about how books have shaped my life as an Indian woman, please consider subscribing to the channel. I come up with these videos every single week and you best believe I will have more recommendations coming. I will take a leave for today. I see you guys next time. Until then, happy reading.